So without further ado, let's assume that today you are an investor. Your budget probably about 2 mil. I mean, today's context, if you want to buy a two-bedder, 2 mil is a good amount of budget to have options, all right? Whether is it the core central, city fringe, or the outskirts. So the product I have for illustration purposes today is Aurea. It's a core central region property, 2-bedroom, size about 65 square feet. Considering the price right now, currently going for a discount at about 1.7 mil, PSF is about 2007 PSF. So now the question is, how can I use the 3P framework to determine whether this proposal is a worthy investment or not? Let's break it down. So some specifications of the property that I'd like to share with you first. The specs of the price is listed them down, position, and the plan. So always use the 3P framework as a structured methodology of deciding whether this is a good investment or not. So price, like I mentioned, what is the price gap? The price gap that you are identifying serves as a layer of protection because it is a safety net that determines your exit strategy 4 years later in the resale market. So first thing, when you buy a property, you need to understand how your unit compares with the nearby surrounding resale. Okay, this is also what we call the comparative market analysis, CMA for short. It's also important to compare with relevant examples. You don't want to compare because we are in D7. Okay, there's no point in comparing a property in District 9 or District 11, which is not a very good data point to refer to. So in this context here, I'm comparing with 4 other resale properties, which is Dual Residence, TOP in 2017, Midtown Modern, just recently TOP at the time of recording, the M TOP 2 years ago, and Citygate TOP about 7 years ago. So a very good kind of contrast comparison, not biased towards anything. So it's a very balanced view of comparison that we want to actually see whether the entry price per Aurea, how does it compare to your resale counterparts. So there's one concept here, what we call the resale disparity effect. Okay, we need to understand how does Aurea compare to the resale property. So I have over here Midtown Modern. If I break it down, we look at the numbers. Average quantum for the 2-bedroom transactions currently doing about 2.3 to 2.4 mil. These are of course on a bigger square footage at about 700 square feet, but the PSF actually is about 3,003. So if you look at the average kind of quantum and PSF, you realize that this compared to Aurea is actually quite a big buffer, okay, which is good if you're considering an entry into Aurea at 2007 PSF. That's easily kind of $500, $600 gap. Another example is the M. So the M, similar analysis. This is a 2019 property. The lease starts from 2019. So actually the average PSF that is going for is about 2008. But if you just reset that lease back to brand new 99, what you'll find is this goes up to maybe about 3,000 plus PSF, which is a very kind of safe buffer if you're considering an entry into Aurea at 2007 PSF. So similar analysis which you can do. So I just want to take this moment to pause here, is that today I'm just illustrating an example of Aurea, but what is important for you as the person who's watching this video is to take away the concept, because it's the concept and the methodology that's more important to assess whichever property that you are looking to buy or invest. So you can use the same kind of frameworks that I'm showing you today. Okay, coming to Dual Residence. So this is actually one of the quite a famous property that's a lot of transactions that's happening averagely for a 2-bedder today at 2002 PSF quantum about 2 mil. Okay, so immediately one would then think, wow, isn't it 2002 PSF for a resale? Would it be better off buying a resale? Or is my gap between Aurea and Dual too big? Because Aurea is at 2007, so there's some, it feels at a face value that I am entering at a $500 disadvantage. Is that really true? Because if you look at the lease reset value, if I just reset Dual Residence to a brand new 99 years, what I'll find is that at purchase price, so this is a listing for Dual Residence on Property Guru, you will see this person is asking 2.5 mil for a 2-bedder. Lease tenure start date is 2011, so it approximately has a balance lease of about 85 years. So PSF on surface is about 2004. So if I just reset that to a full 99 years, actually it comes back to be about 2008 PSF with reference to a brand new 99 Aurea at 2007. So what we're seeing is that for resale property in the market, if you actually do the lease disparity effect calculation, it actually you're buying the brand new at a discount. And not only that, like I mentioned, PSF today is not really the only metric you should be looking at. Quantum ultimately decides or determines the affordability of your future buyer. So if you do a lease reset on the full price of the property, this actually works out to be a $2.9 million for a 2-bed property. So imagine today a buyer 4 years later, he was to actually look at your property versus this one. 2.9 million for a 2-bedder might be a little bit more challenging in terms of your exit audience. Okay, for the M currently on Property Guru asking for 2007 PSF. This was a property that just recently TOP. This is also the D starts from 2019, so you have a balance lease of 93 years. PSF on surface is about 2007 PSF for 93 years left. So what that means, if you reset it back to brand new 99, you have actually a PSF about 2009 PSF. So I like how consistently showing two resale properties giving me back a number that is more expensive than the brand new, which then illustrates the safe entry price for Aura at 2007 comparatively to the resale market. And then now, that's for the resale. The next segment is about comparing how does Aura as a brand new property in the core central region compare to its other region counterparts. So in this example, I'm showing you the gap between a core central region and the outskirts. So actually in the outskirts today, there are properties like Jayden and Chuan Park has already crossed about 2006 and 2008 ASM respectively. So what that means is today, if you're considering a product like Aura, essentially you're buying a core central region product at the same price as what people has bought and transacted an outskirts property for. This is exceptionally important because fundamentally these are different product classes. The outskirts pricing will eventually form the foundation layer of your price support, which also then means that your outskirts, the core central region property that you buy is unlikely to fall below the outskirts property. Okay? And then if I just look at it in the entire landscape of the outskirts region, you will see that there are already record prices transacted around the whole region for the north, west, and even the east, all doing about 2005, 2006, very, very close to what Aura is doing at 2007. So this is what I really like about how low and undervalued we are entering the product at. If there was anything right, important is about the right entry price and making sure that you're not too far away from your outskirt counterparts. So the next gap analysis, we want to compare it with the city fringe properties. So you have Ori, Emerald of Katong, and Promenade Peak. You can see that the PSFs are all already at 2008, 2009 PSF at a quantum of approximately about 1.8 to 2 mil. With reference to for Aura, you're looking at 2 bedrooms, 1.7 mil and PSF of 2007. So what you're doing is actually buying into a core central region product that's even cheaper than a city fringe price tag. And giving you even a clear example here for city fringe property comparing to Grand Dunman, a 2-bed, 1-bath that costs you about $2 million. In Aura, on the other side, the core central region product, we are buying a 2-bed, 2-bath at 1.7 million. This slide is showing you for the outskirts, we are comparing with Chuan Park. So in both scenarios here, I have a 2-bed, 2-bath product, but the entry price for Chuan Park is 1.9 mil versus a CCR product like Aura is 1.7 mil. So what that means is actually you have a 200K price quantum disparity difference, right? And then of course, I want to compare Aura with my neighboring core central region to understand how big is the price disparity. So if I look at my core central D9 counterparts like Upper House, River Green, and Robertson Opus, at this time of recording, these launches were actually just launched a month ago, so these are very recent data. We look at the PSF, these are all averaging way above 3,000 PSF all the way to 3,003 PSF for Opus. And you see at the average quantum, we're looking at about 2.4 mil even. With the entry price of Aura at 1.7, you're talking about a 700K price quantum disparity. Yeah. So you must understand that is essentially when you exit 4 years later, or if you're hoping to exit, your future buyer will also have the concerns about affordability as well. They're looking at a 2-bedder, they're hoping to rent out. They want to maximize the amount of rental gains they're getting based on the least amount of outlay they have to put down. So if let's say you're looking at a 2-bedroom at Aura at 1.7 versus a 2-bedroom in say these areas at about 2.4, you're talking about a big difference in terms of outlay. Your rental at the end of the day, right, would not differ too much. As an investor 4 years later, what he's really looking at is the lowest minimum entry possible. So if I were to just lay out your exit strategy, your blueprint to really identifying your winning exit plan is really understanding where your gaps are. It's important if you can put this down, you will then have the assurance how to execute this safely. Okay, so if I were to enter Aura at 2007 PSF, I will have an unfair entry advantage, a very strong price gap with my outskirt counterparts and my city fringe counterparts, $100 difference to be exact. And even this pricing for the city fringe and the outskirts have a further price gap from that peak at about 2009 PSF. So I have 2 layers of protection here, which really gives Aura as a very safe entry for investment. So if I deep dive into the stack analysis for position, my second P in the 3P framework, the purpose is I want to make sure that the specific stack that I'm looking at is not ridiculously priced. I want to reference this stack with the other stack to make sure that I'm not disadvantaged or there's no premium that I'm unaware of. So it's important to ask your consultant or have a chat with me if there's a specific unit that you have already kind of shortlisted and you want to know whether there is a premium that's been loaded on this specific unit that you're unaware of. It's important to do this exercise. So what I did was for the level that I want to be interested in is level 5, for example, in this, I want to be clear what's the pricing for each stack at level 5. So I've illustrated here for 0535, 0534, 0533, and I'm pleased to also see that in terms of quantum, in terms of PSF, they do not differ too much. Actually, the main difference for these different stacks is the size, so they come with different layouts. But what I wanted to achieve was I wanted to see if the PSF differed tremendously. So I'm happy to see that actually for the entry price of stack 35 and 34, the entry PSF doesn't differ too much. So it means to say that the developer has priced this quite balanced, which is good for you as an investor. Okay, the last P, which is the plan. Plan is an important factor because if you are selling to a buyer who's planning to live in, actually the floor plan is a very important factor to determine whether your unit can sell or not. Nobody likes to buy a unit that is irregular layout or has bay windows all over or has overly sized big balconies or bedrooms can not fit decent sized bed. Okay, so if you look at your counterparts in District 7, mainly the resale properties like Dual Residence and Citygate, what you'll find is for Aura, the layout is a lot more superior. So for Dual Residence, you'll find that your balcony and your whole entire layout is curved. There's a lot of wasted space. If you look at the entrance corridor over here, right, you will basically have a very long kind of a wasted corridor space. And then for Citygate, what you'll find is that look at this overly sized big balcony in a very weird shade. And then not only that, you have actually more than one balcony, so it's not really kind of practical in this aspect here. Even though your unit is relatively big, you don't even have an enclosed kitchen, so it's still a walk-in kind of kitchenette. It's quite not really ideal. Versus if you compare it to an Aura, although no doubt your square footage is maybe 646, but in turn what you get is a very nice dumbbell layout, very efficient, very squarish. So in today's kind of environment here, buyers look for efficiency of layout. Sellability anchors heavily on layout efficiency. If you are looking for a tenant or buyer who's looking for an enclosed kitchen, happy to show you that actually this kitchen is a little bit, it's enclosable, it's actually tucked in so that you can, if you want to erect a glass sliding door, it's doable. So this is actually fantastic and very kind of well received in the market. So this is the kind of analysis that you should be doing to understand how does your choice units layout compare with your nearby surrounding resale. Because if you do that, you will have the assurance that down the road 4 years later, your buyers who are looking for own stay, immediate occupation, your unit will stand out as the preferred choice in the resale market.